Alors, bonsoir tout le monde. Bienvenue à cette dernière réunion de l'année officiellement, ce 14 décembre, réunion ordinaire et publique du Conseil municipal de la Ville de Dieppe. Et sans plus tarder, nous allons procéder avec notre mot d'ouverture. Chers collègues, ayons
Opening word, dear colleagues, let's have the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to know the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So the meeting is called to order. We have a quorum. Everyone is here, present. Well, either present or virtually. Let's continue with conflict of interest. Is there any conflict of interest to be declared? Nothing. Okay. Item number 6, adoption of the agenda, moved by Councillor Cormier, seconded by Councillor Brito on the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded say no. The agenda is adopted as presented. Let's proceed forthwith to item number 7, presentations, inquiries, and petition 7.1. Inquiries by council members for our friends from the Kodiak Regional RCMP. And I'm not sure who we have with us tonight. Is it Mr. Jarlett or Mr. Pritchker? It's Sergeant Jarlett. Good evening, Mr. Jarlett, Inspector Jarlett. Is there anyone who would have questions for Inspector Jarlett? It's like a Christmas gift. No questions. I think it was noticed during the last few weeks. There's a much greater presence in our community. Everyone appreciated it very much. So that being said, I leave you. If you have anything to say, I just want to say thank you, and we'll continue to do that every day. And I just want to wish you, the members of council and yourself, happy holidays. Be careful, even if displacement is limited with COVID, and be careful on the roads. So we should spend the night at a neighbor if need be instead of traveling. So happy, good meeting. Thank you very much. I think on behalf of council and on behalf of citizens, I want to wish you a happy holidays. And if you want to tell Mr. Critchlow and all the members of Kodiak ICMP, thank you for your excellent work. And it will be a pleasure to keep working with you. Thank you. So that brings us immediately item 7.2, presentation, United Way. We talk about a presentation on the service 211. We have virtually present with us Miss Mishka Jacob. Mishka Jacob. Hello, can you hear me? Yes, we hear you very well. Thank you. I'll share my screen.
C'est fait? C'est beau?
It's done. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Your worship and councillors of the city of Dieppe, I'm very happy to be with you tonight. I will speak of the 211 service. Since 27, the United Way of New-Brunswick worked very hard with 211 in New-Brunswick. It took a lot of time, energy, and partnership. In October the 15th, We initially launched the service. First 6 months are funded by the federal government and United New-Brunswick. And after that, this latter one will finance it by himself. So we cooperate with incredible partners, government, federal, provincial government, United with Canada, the three United with New Brunswick, find help that offers us the help doing one social development as JHDC. Yes, a community organization that are part and parcel of our data. They help us to share the news and they work hard to support the members of our community. In fact, 211 is a service of information and reference. This service allowed to inform users quickly and to direct them towards human resources, social and community services, and to answer special situation. It's free and confidential. Our phones are answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and we have access to 170 languages. So we work with the highest number of people. We answer the call in less than 30 seconds, any call. And when a person communicate with 211, they communicate with a real person who can answer questions on his or her situation and can offer services. It can even register on location, and the services change every day. A senior a person with handicap called us. They needed help with repair at home. They didn't have money to do it. And the community asked him questions, and based on the financial income, was able to offer several programs being offered by social development and for a handicapped person. He also explained that the gentleman who asked the program for senior, and they directed him. This gentleman had no idea that these programs existed, and he left very happy, knowing what 211 is. It's important to understand what it's not. We don't offer a crisis management service, and we don't give info. We give information and reference. Uh, our, we are not trained to give counsels. We have human sources, community, and social offices that are available, but we can help to direct. We received a call from a woman who was looking for service for her family. She wanted to know if there was food bank in the region for her and her children. She explained she's not working. The father is violent. Immediately, we asked if she was safe and if her children were safe. She said yes. We asked if she had all the resources concerning the home violence, domestic violence, but she's working with a social worker to try and get out of this situation. What she needed was resources on food bank in the city and on social assistance, and that's what we did. So we don't manage a crisis, we're there to help. We can answer questions, like a great number of questions concerning financial help, food program for senior citizens, uh, the right for parents, emergency program for COVID, and women refuge. We can answer question or support for family. A gentleman called. He needed help. He was looking for a clinic. We found one. He mentioned that he find the COVID situation very hard because he can't socialize. We referred him to all kinds of resources including friendly calls of the Red Cross. He had no idea that this program existed. A father called us on behalf of his 26-year-old daughter. She lives home and he's looking for resource to help her to live independently. She was referred to social development, social assistance, and they were able to subsidize him. The father mentioned that his daughter is receiving uh, she, a community worker as said he could help her and a mental health program without leaving. He said that's more information than I expected to receive. These are all good information. Thank you very much. It helps a lot. So someone calls us today for one question, but we're able to answer to all the basin of question because a person can't find a house, a lodging, but tomorrow we have to manage the whole issue. And this is what we can offer. We, we help New Brunswickers, but we help community organization 2-in-1 is a complementary program and we help a lot. We offer services and we help with research so that people can do they do the best to service the members of our community. They're the most vulnerable people of our community. A good number of calls in the province are made by these organizations, and we see this in New Brunswick. When someone goes into a food bank, they will know that those people need food, they need social assistance, even lodging, even maybe help in mental health, just because the stress of managing everything alone is enormous. So 211 is really a service we can all use. It's made for everybody. When we get a call, we can give something pertinent that can be interesting for the government and the municipality. Why do people call us? It's either because there's a lack in a service. What is the most important need? And until now, we've received almost 800 calls from Greater Moncton. The need is there. To have access to the service, simply call 2-in-1. And if ever there's a problem because of an office or a hitch or whatever, we have a phone number. 211 constitute the access voice for available resource. If you don't know where to address yourself, 211 is the answer. Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation, Ms. Jacobs. Is there any question from the members of council?
Madame Arsenault.
Ms. Arsenault. Thank you, Your Worship. Ms. Jacob, your presentation is excellent. I noticed that you said you service the public in 170 languages. Are these automatic answering service? No. When it's an interpretation service, if somebody calls 211 and for one reason that person is not able to speak French or English, we can ask an interpreter to help us without hanging up. Yes, fantastic. And you say that you're a center of information and reference, and you've serviced 800 persons in the Greater Moncton area this year in 2020. Yes, and today's the 14th. Tomorrow will be 2 months. In 2 months, you service the 32 months. Are you able to divide that in each city? Because Greater Moncton is Riverview, Dieppe, and Moncton. Yes, it depends on the caller. We ask them their postal code. or their city or town. Sometimes not appropriate to ask information on these persons. It's not always appropriate to ask the gender. So we depend on the caller to inform us where they're calling from. But I would say that almost 200 calls at least come from the city of Dieppe. It's a lot. Yes. You also mentioned that that people you can't you receive SEIS, but what does it mean? Society of Economic Inclusion and social and economic inclusion. It's linked. Their purpose is to reduce poverty in society. Excellent. And the Red Cross telephone, that's something we don't hear much about. It's not publicized, so something we should give the number. We call 211. And if we want to discuss or talk to someone because we're lonely, they refer us to Red Cross. And without hanging up, we have the possibility of doing a transfer, but that's only in an extreme case where the person is really in trouble. Our lines are active until the end of the call, so we can't answer the other calls until this one is settled. So we reserve this for a case where the person can't make another call. So if someone is really in a crisis, we don't want to leave them alone. We don't want to leave them without support. But if the person is lonely but is able to make another call, we ask them to do so. And you service the people who are in a state of crisis, even if you help them by giving the information and you transfer them to the proper place. I imagine that you've increased your number since the COVID-19. Yes, the five first questions that are asked are related to COVID, crisis intervention and resources, mental health, food, and program for seniors. These are the five questions that we are asked. You do a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Thank you, madam. Thank you. Any more questions? Mr. Godet? No? Thank you. They were answered. So if there's no more questions, Mrs. Jacob, thank you very much for your presentation. And thank you for the information. I think there's not too many persons around the table who were aware. It's very informative. And it's a number that we will keep in our toolbox. Thank you once again. Thank you very much. Good evening. Bye bye. Thank you once again. That brings us now to item 8, public from the question. I've been told that there's no questions from the public. And now, adoption of the minutes of the meeting of November the 23rd, our last meeting, moved by Councillor Leblanc, supported by Councillor Godet on the question. No question. All those in favor of of adopting the minutes for the meeting of November 23rd. Last, say aye. Contrary minded, say nay. So the minutes of the meeting of November 23rd was adopted as presented. We'll now proceed to the different motion, memorandum, and information starting with finance. There's a small presentation, an initial. I think that our treasurer will inform us of the process to be followed tonight. Of course, thank you, Your Worship. Good evening. Good evening, members of council, colleague of work here or at home. Last Thursday, during our meeting, weekly meeting, Thursday morning, our administrator proposed that I present the transfers of reserve. There's quite a few figures and high figures and a strategy behind it all. It's a good idea. That risk to happen every year, if I'm not mistaken. First of all, we talk about, I'll put them in order. According to the resolution that you'll see tonight, as for the general reserve, we can see that this one is at 2.8 million. As of 31st of December, it was maximized 5% of the budget for 2019 was 56 million. The transaction that we're proposing today is a transfer to reserve 753,000. I divided them in three. First of all, expenditures not spent in 2020 and in most cases in 2021. We talk here, and I've talked to you during the budget session. There's two soccer, shelter, and field, sports field, and these are budgets. We'll take a portion this year, put it in reserve, and use them next year for that kind of item. We have a 370,000 if we want to increase existing reserve. We talk about financial incentive. There's money we didn't use. We put in reserve for future. And it's starting to get busy downtown. We'll try to reduce the reserve in years to come. The participative reserve or renovation of equipment. And lastly, there's a $7,000 financial when there's a surplus. And here I talk about 2018, we push it off to 2020. First of all, is the reserve maximized? In this case, there was 100,000, so it's 600,000 additional that we had in 2019. There's 7,000 that we're asking you to transfer. You'll see in the next slide. Then we take money from the reserve. Also, we talk about 363,000. It's mostly expenditures that we've put in 2019 to be used in 2020. In this case, the big piece was a house that comes out of the reserve. And there are also consultant human resources that was in reserve in 2019, and we spend it in 2020. Any question so far? You want me to continue? Ms. Leboutier. Hoping that the question will lighten up the burden for later on. Financial incentive. Since we changed the role, because before we issued the money at first, now it will be a redirection on taxes for many years. So we need a reserve for the financial incentive. How can I say it? Yes, we put off to a later date. Now we have 375,000 a year. We've had it 4 years. We use it a little bit for development. We use it upfront. So it's the next ones coming up that can bring expenses of 400 to 500,000 a year. So the reserve of 500,000 with next year, I'll have access to 700,000, maybe 300,000 will come out. It will reduce and make such that the reserve, we try to keep it at 200,000. If not, we'll have to increase the budget accordingly, depending on the development that will present itself. For me, financial incentive, somebody will explain it to me later on because I thought it was money we'd receive. We had the option. Here I'm putting figures. The third year, it can be, the expense can be 500,000 instead of budgeting 500,000, since we have in reserve 200,000 can be used for the budget. We'll take 300,000 from the reserve. It's to reduce the impact for the future impact. The second answer was clearer. Continue. So secondly, this is the general capital. The slide, I'll take more time to present this when there are higher figures. So we talked at the end of December, plan 10.5 million. What we're proposing tonight is a reserve of 4.8 million towards that reserve. Divided in 4 parts. The first one, 1.4 million, is capital of the operation, is the money we take from the operating money and put it in the capital. We put about 4.2 million. 4.2 million. We've used part of it this year with capital budget, and the 1.4 we put in reserve to use in a future date. For instance, Minasson Road, 1.9 million, we use 1.4, and there's close to 500,000. So we put it in capital reserve. Secondly, the program of equipment reserve, active year after year, we put 1.4, 1.5 million. We take the operating budget, so we have about 600,000 that was used, and the balance is put in reserve to be used at a later date. Operational surplus for 2020, we talk about 1.5 million. It's majority surplus with human resources that have been identified. I divide them in 3 portions here. First of all, a lot of positions were approved in the budget of 2020, but they were not fulfilled. COVID played a big role in this. Leaders or department head, human resources, but not human. Information technology, continued permanent, that brought 400 to 500,000 dollars. Secondly, some positions were related to COVID-19. I talk about students with recreation, public works, engineering. They were not filled because of COVID, and we didn't need those positions. And also with the swimming pool, for instance. So there was a big economy of $400,000 approximately. And lastly, surplus we know year after year, position that become vacant during the year. And so there's been a surplus for some time, and there's overtime surplus there. And everybody left on sick leave. So this is a big amount, $500,000 to $600,000. So these 3 put together make it such that can transfer 1.5 million to the operational and capital project. And lastly, I talk about $100,000 in reserve. All and everywhere we budgeted 1.6 million that would be put in reserve. There's 400,000 that amount that was used for Uniplex, and the balance that is 1.1 million and is transferred in reserve. Now, as to the 2.6 million, and they're not really used at this time, but you'll see. I think it's 10.2.2 Acadie Avenue. We'll put an asterisk because you'll hear about it later on. That project was initially presented, was accepted on condition that there was financing, but we ask you to finance it 100% for the year. To do so, we need money. And that piece, to be clear, conditionally financing of by other government. Without that support, we will absorb it 100%. So 1.7 million in general is here at 1.5 and 1.1. 1.7 of that amount will be used to finance Acadie Avenue or Acadie Street. Lastly, is a transfer of the reserve. So monies we put in reserve in 2019 and 2020, such as 2.36 million we see here, is Uniplex. Uniplex, we put it at zero. The project is completed, so we have that amount. And there's a 200,000 with replacement of equipment program. This one is specific to recreational. We had a budget of 240,000 a year. We used 400,000 this year. It means that there is a lack of 200,000 that has to be taken from the reserve. So it's normal in and out, depending on the amount that had to be replaced. Any question? Questions from the councillors? It's clear as muddy water. Thank you very much. The third one, water and sewerage, the operation reserve. There's not much that happens here. Reserve was maximized last year with $640,000 used. And again this year, the only thing we send is 9.5 million program for equipment. And we're continuing, so it brings the reserve to 640,000. Lastly, as for the capital project, or mobilizing a capital for water and sewage, same story as before. We have 3.15 million in reserve. The amount that are in reserve, 7 million, are divided as follow. The operation capital, we can use 400,000, so we put it in reserve to continue the project. The replacement program, 200,000 that we put in reserve. Operational surplus in 2020, we had a surplus of 600,000. That surplus in 2018, that is. So got back in 2020, since the operation reserve is up to its capacity, we propose that you send it completely to reserve. Sorry. I just explained 100,000 that was surplus from the operational surplus. As earlier, 300,000 is related to human resources. So position that I mentioned earlier, part of these salaries and water and sewage, we talk about 300,000. There's other things that bring surplus. You had surplus operational, legal expense, pumping water. There was also surplus in the revenue, with the revenue. More unit that were sold and user fees in the order of 50,000, and the sale of we had wood cutting, and we received about 75,000. So that was put in reserve. Finally, you also have in your presentation resolution of 10.2.2. We propose a transfer of 300,000. The 300,000. It starts at the general operation budget. There's a surplus here and the building permit. So they brought a surplus of 300,000. So we propose to transfer to water and storage in order to help the water and sewage to finance the Acadie Avenue. So 1 million all in all. And you can see the last three amounts. You see on screen close to 1 million. They will make it such that we have the full million to cover the conditional on financing from elsewhere that we talk about. That's it. There's no transfer from the reserve. Thank you. Any more question before we go on with the five main resolutions? On that, we'll start with 10.1.1 on the transfer of funds general operating for the reading resolution. Mr. Brideau. Thank you, Worship. That council authorized to transfer the amount of $53,000 general in the general reserve fund. The council authorized transferring the amount of $362,500 from the general operating reserve fund to general operating fund. I move. Your worship, moved by Councillor Delido, seconded by Councillor Cormier. On the question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Carried as presented. That brings us to 10.1.1.2. For the reading of this resolution, Monsieur Leblanc. Thank you, Worship. Council authorized a transfer in the amount of $4,805,000 from the general operating fund to the general capital reserve fund. That council authorized a transfer in the amount of $2,561,182 from the general capital fund to the general capital fund. I so move, your worship. Moved by Councillor Leblanc, seconded by Councillor Godet. On the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded say nay. Carried as presented. Next, transfer resolution 10.1.1.3. Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. That council authorized a transfer in the amount of $9,500 from the water and water waste disposal operating fund to the water and water waste operating reserve fund. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Ms. Arsenault. On the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded say nay. Carried as presented. And that brings us now to 10.1.1.4. Point 4, sorry. Point 4. I'm not the only one follows, I'd be lost. On this for the reading, Ms. Leboutier. That council authorized a transfer in the amount of $1,619,500 from the water and wastewater disposal operating fund to the wastewater disposal. That council authorized a transfer in the amount of $55,000 from the water and wastewater disposal capital fund to the water and wastewater disposal capital reserve fund. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Gautier, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau. Other question? No question. All those in favor say aye. Reminded say nay. Resolution is carried as presented. Now for 10.1.1.5. Ms. Arsenault, if you're ready.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le maire.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Je me sentais généreux, je vous ai laissé la plus longue.
I felt generous. I kept the longest one for you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Vous êtes dans le confort de la maison, alors on vous fait travailler.
You're at home. We'll make you work harder. All right. That council authorized the following commitments from the following reserve funds. General Operating Fund, account number 7-4-20-12-8910. Emergency measures, $235,000. 2. Snow removal, $400,000. 3. Building renovation program, $330,000. 4. Equipment program, information technology, IT, $66,000. 5. Engineering, global traffic plan, 2040, $35,000. 6. Engineering, drainage, ditch and culvert, $40,000. 7. Human resources consultant, $60,000. 8. Organizational performance, participatory budget, $120,000. Number 9, transportation, mobile receiver to be replaced, $28,000. 10. Administration, incentive program, downtown, $125,000. 11. IT, safety audit, $17,000. 12. IT, unforeseen expenditures, $5,500. 13. IT, LU JIC, $30,500. 14. IT, software, public works, TRBO, dispatch, $15,000. 15. IT, software purchase, automated auto sheet, $40,000. 16. Planning and development, FCM projects, AGL Arena, $38,400. 17. Planning and development, Green Fund, $19,000. 18. Planning and development, Pedagogyac, $48,000. 19. Clerk's office, software maintenance, Laserfish, $42,000. 20. Leisure purchase of artwork, $50,000. 21. Leisure Sports Hall of Fame, $28,000. 22. Facilities, sports field, tennis court repairs, $42,000. 23. Facilities, sports field, 2. Soccer shelter, $30,000. 24. Facilities, public land, playground repair, $50,000. 25. Facilities, trail system, a bridge repair, $35,000. Facilities, consultant, Centennial site, $10,000. I move. No, you can continue on the other page, please. It continue 20, and then the others. 27, 28, 20, and 30. One moment, please. And next page. Following page.
Je l'ai déplacé, Monsieur le maire. Il va falloir changer.
You have to change. I don't have it. Can I ask Councillor Gadet to continue the reading of the list? Thank you.
Faut que j'allume le micro de M. Godet.
I should
Plus facile.
open, Mr. Gadet. Mike, thank you. Number 27, communication, downtown signage, $100,000. 28, communication, website redesign, $100,000. forestry, 28,000. 30 finance, a potential claim, $25,000. 31 finance, civilization reserve, 205,000. Water and wastewater disposal operating reserve fund account number 7-4-20-12-1930. One stabilization reserve, 545,000. Equipment program IT, 38,500. Potential claim, 25,000. For IT unforeseen expenditures, $11,000. 5, clerk's office, records management software, $50,000. General capital reserve fund account number 7-20-12-20 and 1920. A vehicle program, fire department, 284,000. Equipment program, public department work, 1,075,000. 3 equipment program, municipal facilities division, $857,000. For building reservation program, $578,000. 5 buses, 5 bus replacement program, $712,000. 6 IT system replacement program, $74,000. 7 future land purchase, $835,000. 8 current capital project, $1,615,500. 9 pending capital project, $996,175. $996,175. 10 capital projects, 2021 financing, $2,046,000. 11 capital projects uncommitted, $2,119,000. Water and wastewater disposal capital reserve fund account number 7-4-20-12-1940. 1 equipment program, public work department, $536,000. 2 current capital projects, $714,000. 3 pending capital projects, $573,000. 4 capital projects, 2021 financing, $1,196,096. 5 capital projects uncommitted, $130,000. I so move. Move. I don't know how we'll write that. Jointly by 2 councillors. Councillor Godet and Councillor Arsenault. Somebody second? Councillor Cormier? So, on the question, we should agree with one mover. So it'll have to be Ms. Arsenault who started the reading of and that seconded by Councillor Cormier. On the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded, nay. So carried as presented. And that brings us now to 10.1.2 for the renewal of the liability insurance, Mr. Melanson. So yes, thanks, Your Worship. Good evening, everyone. First file on the renewal of liability insurance for the municipality, following a tender calling. Franco and Company be the one retained towards a civil liability building and vehicle, and the director and officers at the amount $373,678. Concerning the trustee insurance, we went with Southwestern Insurance Group at $4,057, and the renewal of the liability policy for environment, AXA XL Specialty Insurance Company, for an amount of $104,391. This is recommended for 2021, and it's equivalent to the sum approximately 11.25% increase, and it's very good compared to other municipalities in New Brunswick. That's our recommendation for the approval tonight. So someone for the reading of the resolution, Mr. Cormier. The light that council authorized a renewal of the vehicle and building liability insurance policy, as well as liability insurance policy for the directors and elected municipal with Frank Cowan Company, payable to Assurance Gauvin Champlain, the amount of $3,078,876 for 2021. That council authorized the renewal of the fiduciary insurance policy with Southwestern Insurance Group, payable to Assurance Gauvin Champlain, the cost of $4,000 for $50,000 for 2021. Council the renewal of the environmental liability AX specialty insurance company, payable to Assurance Gauvin Champlain Insurance Inc. at the cost of $104,093,000 for the year 2021. I so move. Moved by Councillor Cormier, seconded by Councillor Brideau. On the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. The chair reminded say nay. The resolution is adopted as presented. That brings us to 10.2.1 for engineering expenses. Last year we gave a contract to XP Service Incorporated for the construction of Evolution Street. Following the work that had to be done, there were additional days of work that were needed for two elements, especially a site. Some unknown elements that were on location, the complexity of the nature with the two buildings that were in construction. Following an analysis of the worker, we decided to add $34,000 for the work that was done in this project. So it's our recommendation for this project. Thank you for the reading of the resolution, Mr. Brideau. Thank you, Your Worship. That council authorized an additional amount of $34,000 plus HST to EXP Service Incorporated for engineering services related to the project titled Evolution Street Construction 2020, and further authorize that the expense be deferred from account 3-3-35-58-7645 general capital budget downtown Gauvin block. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Brideau, seconded by Councillor Leblanc. On the question. Mr. Leblanc. Thank you, Your Worship. Following the resolution, when we see an additional fund for engineering costs, can we expect another resolution for the supplier? No, Your Worship. This is simply the engineering cost. That's it, and not the contractor. No. Fine, thank you. Any other question? All those in favor say aye. Contrary reminded nay. Carried as presented. That brings us to 10.2.2 for the financing of Acadie Avenue reconstruction. Yes, our treasurer explained in principle some elements from this that we try to amend. We identified this as important, and it was also potential if there was any wastewater or water So as of today, no indication there will be any program available. So when we look at the context of this part of the street that goes from Thibodeau to Champlain Street, it's the place where the underground is the oldest in the municipality. So it is infrastructure of 1950. So the risk is nevertheless considered as important. The surface also starts to be aging. And when we look at the context, how to develop all the construction project in this zone, we can't make all the project at the same time. As you know, in our designated highway on Champlain, we fixed the year 2022. We have to plan the section of street so we don't have a unacceptable traffic congestion in downtown with a surplus that we were able to accumulate in 2020 is the opportunity to make this project with no borrowing at all. It's good investment from our asset, and that's what we aim with our financial plan. So it's what we recommend is to withdraw the conditional by the federal and provincial government. But in parallel, we have another project. If the program comes back to service in 2022, there's another project that we'll present to you and we can discuss next year. And when we study the budgetary for 2021, we recommend that the municipality uh, does all the financing and we use the assets. Thank you for the reading of the resolution. Mr. Blanc, Your Worship, that council accept remove the removal of the word conditional on the proposed number 5 list adopted on November 3rd, 2020, adopted capital project program 2021, and that the council authorized the transfer of an additional fund of $300,000 from the general operating fund account number 1-2-30-46-50-2505 water costs to the water and sewer operating fund account number 2-1-15-06-1185 water supply in fire protection. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Leblanc, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau on the question. No question. Mrs. Leboutillier, you have a question. Thank you, Worship. I would like to repeat to better understand the question of the subsidy of $300,000. Normally, we would have had a subsidy because of a program, and the program doesn't exist anymore. In the past, there were infrastructure programs that dealt with water and sewage program for projects for municipalities, and for the last 3 years, no funds are available in that program. So that program allowed to get some financing up to 75% for global projects. So for this reason, we had identified this project. So as of today, there's indication that the program will not be reactivated. So instead of waiting, we have to prepare ourselves. And that's why with the option of when there's a surplus that we can invest in our infrastructure, we think it's a good investment. Thank you. I think it's just a question of timing. It's unfortunate that we can't have the money that normally would be from the provincial within the infrastructure. We're not going to let our citizens down with the infrastructure of 1950, considering the service in that area. I don't have to tell you, if you go there, it's very rough. It could even be dangerous. Encourage the council. So on that, we'll vote. If there's no further question, all those in favor of the resolution say aye. Contrary minded say nay. Carried as presented. Fine. That brings us to next item. 10.3.1. Appointment of an insurance broker. From time to time, we have a tender call to make sure that we have a better service available at a better price for quality of service. The last time that we did this was in 2012 for an insurance broker. We called the invitation, the first phase. 5 bids were received, and the evaluation of the first step was completed. To go to step number 2, and we were asking 3 of the 5 to give another tender. 2 gave additional information. Following that exercise, Insurance Goguet-Champlain is the one that a division of Apology Gallagher Limited was retained and recommended for a period of 5 years, and we reserve the privilege of extending by 2 years if the service are up to par. That's our recommendation for this file. For the reading of the resolution, Mr. Dieppe. Your worship, that council appoint Insurance Goguet-Champlain, a division of either Gallagher, as interest broker of a municipality for a 5-year period from 2021 to 2025 with possibility of additional 2-year extension. I so move. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Elson. On the question. No question. All those in favor say aye. Contrary minded say nay. Carried as presented. And 10.4.1 for planning and development, fix a date for public hearing and a rezoning application. Is quite clear. I may have one explanation at the beginning. The staff does not recommend this rezoning, so the principle was shared with the development, with the bid, and it would change from CS to an R3 zone. Residential, high density residential, as you know, on that part of Champlain Street, it's business. Yes. The staff has already made a preliminary evaluation, but the entity can make a rezoning, so it's up to the council. If you want to pursue that exercise, it's up to you. Or if you want to end it immediately, it's up to you to do it. If you're open to pursue, adopt the resolution. If there's no support for the resolution, then we'll put an end to the process. But a CGM that recommends architectural, whatever, put that rezoning application. They can go to the back. Next step would be to go to the planning advisory for the reading of the resolution. Ms. Laboutier.
Le Conseil fixe une audition publique.
That council scheduled a public hearing on January the 11th, 2021 at 7 p.m. in the Dieppe City Council to hear objection with regard to a proposed amendment and zoning map under bylaw Z-10 2017. The line identified as PID 00672223 that council as the written views of planning advisory to extend the deadline pursuant section 110.3 of the Community Planning Act of February the 8th, 2021. I so moved by Councillor Laboutier, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau. On the question. No question. Mr. Godet, have a question? Could we have a summary maybe of the main reason why it was turned down or not recommended, Mr. Frenette?
Bonsoir, membres du Conseil, Monsieur le maire. Les raisons, on l'a écrit dans notre mémo. C'est quand même assez clair. On est sur la rue Champlain. Puis c'est une zone commerciale où on favorise le commerce, où les les terrains à cette hauteur-là se sont développés de façon à rencontrer l'arrêté de zonage qui est du commerce. Si on est pour commencer à permettre du résidentiel sur la rue Champlain, c'est sûr qu'on s'expose à des problématiques dans le futur. À l'heure actuelle, c'est un commerce au rez-de-chaussée avec des unités aux étages. Le demandeur aimerait avoir 100% de son bâtiment résidentiel, donc commerce au rez-de-chaussée. Puis, on est quand même, comme vous savez, quand vous regardez la carte de zonage de la ville de Dieppe, on est quand même limité là, avec du zonage commercial sur le territoire. Ça fait qu'il faut quand même être en mesure de n'en conserver pour les futurs. Si on permet ce qu'on appelle dans le jargon urbanistique un spot zoning, ça fait en sorte qu'on pourra avoir d'autres demandes similaires là, sur l'artère commerciale de la ville de Dieppe. Donc, pour ces raisons-là, grosso modo, c'est pour ça que nous, on ne recommande pas le rezonage, la demande. On l'a expliqué à plusieurs reprises au requérant. Il peut faire une demande, c'est son droit. Notre recommandation, comme ça a été expliqué là, dans le mémo par mon collègue Alexandre, ça ne représente pas l'avis du CCU, parce que, comme vous savez, on n'a pas été CCU, mais c'est plutôt l'avis de deux urbanistes de profession.
Two professional planners. Thank you for the clarification. We've already had a similar situation recently. I agree with you, and I intend to vote against. Thank you. Thank you. Other question? We'll vote. All those in favor say aye. I don't see any yes. So those against say no. No. So everybody against? Oh, all right. That's where we're at. Resolution is defeated. And the application is refused. Next item. No. Information technology. Here, you have in front of you a recommendation to go with Bell Canada for the cellular service contract for a 3-year period. We had an interest from two suppliers. Following that exercise, we made the analysis, and Bell Canada is the one that was most favorable for the city of Dieppe, but also the option of piggybacking on the province. But even with this exercise, we had a better proposal than what the province could offer. So we recommend to proceed with this contract. Thank you for the reading of the resolution, Ms. Arsenault. Thank you, Your Worship. That council authorized the city of Dieppe personnel to sign the contract service with Bell Canada pursuant to the proposal dated December the 1st, 2020 for the supply of cellular services for a 3-year period. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Arsenault, seconded by Councillor Brideau. Other question? A question, all those in favor say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Carried as presented. This essentially conclude the meeting. There's no bylaw tonight. No motion, notice of motion, unless someone should. Queries and announcement from the councillors. It feels like Christmas. We'll start with Ms. Arsenault there. Thank you, Your Worship. I simply have one point. A group of women approached me this week, and they are concerned by the fact that they sold their house and they moved into an apartment. And when they were in a house, there was screening of different clear, green, and blue. Now that they're in the apartment, they tell me They have to put everything together and there's no screening done, no triage. I find it's terrible if there is no screening of garbage can and everything is piled together. I was wondering, Mr. Administrator, when do we intend to make the change for apartment blocks to do the same as everybody else in the municipality? Is there a date to this end? Yes. Here, first of all, this is the responsibility of ECHO 360, the regional commission, to put together some initiative of the separation of garbage. So the strategy that was put together for the apartment block, especially, they have an approach to encourage them to put a system in place. And the method they use, those who don't conform pay more per ton for the garbage, and the one who separates, they have a saving. So we can we say there's a success? I don't think they're there yet. So we'll keep spreading the message and keep increasing the price. Your worship, the uh, administration board of directors of the commission bring that together, and maybe that's the strategy that was used. So we'll see if there's any success. But if I may add something that came up recently, finally, they will make an effort of separation for the glass container, whether it's a bottle. The intention is to have specific places where people can put their glass container, wide enough uh, containers separated by the color, and green, amber, and clear, blue and clear. That's a project that's forthcoming. Just for the information of everybody, since we're talking about Echo 360, and the approach as such with the apartment block is to continue to increase the price. We hope that this will make change the behavior of the owner. The danger, of course, is what we see sometimes is that the owners will increase the price of the rent. So if we see that's a trend that is going, we'll have to use another approach. We're aware of that. Like every other community, yes, these women who approached me, they were very concerned because they said, we've been doing it for years, and now in an apartment we had to change our habit, and we're concerned for the environment. I found that fantastic that people were concerned for the environment and they wanted to continue with good habits. Especially when we see the success that Echo 360 have had by making sure that the garbage be separated, and those who are landfill, that they be landfill properly, and to produce with the gas, with the metal. And in the last few years, almost $1 million in energy that is being saved, and that the group Echo 360 sells to New Brunswick Power Commission. I think we're the only region that does it through New Brunswick. Recently, there was a visit by the environment minister. He came to visit the site, and they were astonished by the work that is done by the 360 group. Just to repeat the fact that the team at the regional Southeast Commission is very efficient. Ecologically, why we have a lot to do, but I mean, it's thank you very much. Hoping that the person who are very concerned and have good habits, that their wish will be given as a Christmas gift without increasing their rent, at least. Let's hope so. I wish everyone good holidays for their holiday seasons, a good holiday, good health, and Happy New Year. And be careful with COVID because it spreads very fast. Thank you. Thank you very much. On that, Councillor Gadet. Thank you, Worship. I will start the wave of wishes that everybody will make Happy New Year. Happy New Year to all the citizens. I have two questions, inquiries. First of all, as for Uniplex, somebody asked me when Uniplex will be used for other things than skating, for community room, or is there possibilities that the use could be in January if we stay in yellow? If we remain, is Mr. Bork there? Mr. Burke? Maybe he had another commitment. No, there he is. Good evening. Yes, I can answer the question. We have responsibilities also. Control for COVID at the entrance of Uniplex as we go forward with the ice time. That is quite settled. The rooms are being used slowly, the community rooms. The walking space, if everything goes well, should be used within a few weeks. There's a question of access card to have a control, since we can't control the number of person on the trail. We have to control it. It's coming. We've had comments, we the staff, and also the staff during the day at Uniplex. Things are progressing, and if everything goes well, if we can stay in yellow, let's hope people can use it very shortly. Thank you. Second question is, it's for you also, I assume. It's a question of the ring. What are the plans for the ring? Will that be open? Will it open before Christmas? Thank you. For the ice ring, it's the same thing. We're limited by the number of persons that can use it at the same time. An ice ring is very popular. We have good students who are helping us presently with all our installations to control the entrance. It'll be the same thing there. We started the system, we put a fence to help us to control the number of persons that can use it at any given time. So we're later than last year for two reasons, nothing special. But the COVID situation really delayed us. And the same thing, if everything goes well and we remain in yellow, we should start to receive people this week or early next week. Thank you. That's all. Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Mr. Cormier. Thank you, Worship. I join my voice to those who preceded me to wish everyone happy holidays and good vacation to our students and all the others who Friday, let's hope, can go home for a few weeks. Thank you. Mr. Brideau, your worship. Well, since the council is letting go until January the 11th, I make my wish of Merry Christmas and Happy New Year 2021. And I want to take this opportunity for the citizen of Dieppe who make an effort to keep their distance, wear a mask, and to continue the taste of living, of exercising, of walking, of going out. I think the year 2021 is announcing good. If we have COVID, we learn to live with it. We're not out of it, but we'll keep on sailing. Happy Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you. Councillor Leblanc.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire.
Thank you, Your Worship. It would be a surprise that I also want to wish Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to one and all. Please remain safe and during the holidays in family. If you have a chance to have vacation, take advantage of it. Mr. Thibodeau, Your Worship. Well, I also want to repeat my wish of Merry Christmas and Happy New Year 2021. Let's hope that 2021 will be better than 2020. I wish to all our citizens and you also around the table some happy holidays. That's it, Your Worship. Thank you, Madame Leboudier. Thank you, Your Worship. I even put my Christmas balls since it was approaching Christmas. I would like to take the time of the holidays that are coming to thanks and offer my best wishes for the holidays and the new year. I'd like to start by you, Your Worship. I want to thank you for your leadership, your commitment towards the municipality and during the pandemic, but also the skill that you have to communicate through our city with the media, Mr. Legier, and to all your employees to say thank you. Which you have really some competency, some skills. It must not be easy, but you've worked long hours, and we're really lucky to have you. And very, very happy to all our councillors, to all the city employees. I thank you for your commitment, your devotion, for our work well done. And this make our city a good place to work and live. To all our citizens, our strategic partners, thank you for your effort, your cooperation, your collaboration, and the agility we have to adapt ourselves so that we can go through this pandemic in as easy a way as possible. But we fall in a zone, we come out of it quickly. It's important. I would like to wish one and all happy holidays. Christmas with a lot of joy, a lot of health, good health and happiness for the new year. Be cautious, follow the signs, keep that freedom, and that in our beautiful province, and that we can travel a little bit while being reasonable. Thank you. Thank you, Madame Leboudier. You took me, I was going to wish the same thing to everybody. I think all I can say is simply say Happy New Year's to everybody, the staff, the members of Municipal Council that I appreciate very much. The staff, normally we would have the opportunity during a banquet, an annual dance with the employees to meet together, but it's out of the question. So all our employees, I wish everybody Happy New Year, health, and especially a good year 2021 that is forthcoming. I wish same thing to all our citizens, but our citizens very shortly, we can use all our municipal installations or facilities. Myself, I miss the ice because my doctor said I couldn't play for a few weeks for health reasons. And I have friends who tease me, people who I play with sometimes. Everybody is bragging, literally, our new Uniplex for the quality that is obvious and for the atmosphere. We all can't wait to take advantage of the Uniplex as we can fully take advantage of Place 1604 and continue the community life and good health. Take care of yourself, take care of your family, and see you soon.
À bientôt. Joyeux Noël.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.